Caring, A Psychology for Living by Victor Daniels and Laurence J. Horowitz, as read by The Happy President. Part 6, Living in a Relationship. Chapter 28, Work and Community. Work is more than a livelihood. It is a way we can give to others as we take care of ourselves. It is a chance to exercise our initiative and creativity and develop our skills and abilities. It can be a statement of, "This is who I am," to ourselves and others. The limits that a white male-dominated society places on women and members of other groups are all the more reprehensible because they deny millions of people the opportunity to experience themselves in these terms. The meaning of work. Freud viewed Leben und Arbeiten, to love and to work, as central features of human life. Following his lead, British economist E.F. Shoemaker contends that we all bear the responsibility to find our own good work that helps us to extend our capacities and to express our feeling, caring, and creative sides, as well as our practicality. He declares, "A person's work is undoubtedly one of the most decisive formative influences on character and personality. Business is not there simply to produce goods, it also produces people, so that the whole thing becomes a learning process." As the movie 9 to 5 shows, such ideas are becoming more widespread. They represent a sharp break with the past, a shift from the kind of thinking that characterized the early industrial era. In that older view, human beings were viewed as interchangeable units in a giant production machine. Creative thinking is reversed for the managers and professionals. Robot-like obedience is expected of others. Whenever unemployment is widespread, many job applicants are glad to take jobs they regard as far from ideal. During the recession of the early 1980s, there were lines of applicants even for the jobs of jumpers, who go inside radioactive nuclear reactors to repair them. A number of years ago, Erich Fromm and a group of German psychologists known collectively as the Frankfurt School began to study the connections between working conditions and the rest of a person's life. They found that not only are the frustrations of a repressive working place often brought home and dumped on the family, but so too is the authoritarian structure of the work environment. A man who is an obedient pawn at work may turn into a dictator at home. In turn, such a family is a training ground for an authoritarian, repressive industrial system, preparing people to function as dutiful cogs. Authoritarian economics and family structures are poor training for political democracy. Today, impetus for change comes from the top, as in the present interest in quality circles and participative management, and from the bottom as unions and young people demand more responsive workplaces and more responsible occupational roles. Shoemaker encourages these moves, declaring that meaningless work is an abomination. When he asked young people what they wanted and didn't want in their work, he got answers like these: not to be enslaved by machines, bureaucracies, boredom, ugliness. I don't want to join the rat race. I don't want to become a moron robot commuter. I don't want to be a fragment of a person. I want to deal with people, not masks. I want to be able to care. People matter. Nature matters. Beauty matters. Wholeness matters. Such thoughts are not new, just the scale in which they're occurring. Long ago, Buddha formulated the principle of right livelihood, which recognizes that what we do and how we do it shapes who we become. Right livelihood includes work that's appropriate to our personalities interests, and abilities, that is valuable to others, and that does not contribute to deceiving, cheating, or harming anyone. And right livelihood means working in ways that respect others and that increase our awareness and our self-respect. In this spirit, religious leaders worldwide have joined in the condemnation of work related to the design, development, and production of nuclear arms. Choices and changes of occupation. The choice of a career or the decision to change one's occupation, when that's an option, is one of life's important decisions. Besides trying out different kinds of jobs when they first start out in the working world, later on in their lives, people go through additional periods of questioning and change regarding their livelihoods. Many women whose early jobs were as mothers and homemakers, for instance, later move into work outside the home. And men and women alike often go through intense self-examination about their work or the lack of it and its meaning in their existence. This questioning may lead to changes in occupation, to involvement in other kinds of work besides the primary job, or to changes in the way we do our work. This frequently occurs between the ages of 35 and 45, and again during the period just before retirement. The technological and social changes of modern society mean that fewer people can expect to hold a single job throughout their working life, if they get a job at all. This development, that lifelong relearning and retraining may become the norm rather than the exception, sometimes has a valuable side effect. The expectation of change can encourage flexibility and reduce the tendency to become imprisoned in rigid habits. If you're starting out in the job world, or have an option to change from your present occupation to one that suits you better now, Bowles's What Color is Your Parachute from 1981 is a good resource for helping you think through what you want to do. Other useful books are Michelozzi's Coming Alive from 9 to 5, The Career Search Handbook from 1984, Weiler's Reality and Career Planning from 1977, Jackson's Guerrilla Tactics in the Job Market from 1978, Irish's Go Hire Yourself an Employer from 1978, and Figler's The Complete Job Search Handbook from 1979. If you have a college counseling center available, you can check out their career advising program. Almost all offer tests of personality, interests, and aptitudes, and career counseling. If you already have considerable work experience and are considering a change, you might explore whether any occupational exploration workshops are offered in your city. The best way to get beyond idealized, glorified views of what a given kind of work is like is to get hands-on or direct experience by finding a job in the area you're interested in, even if it's part-time, temporary, low-paying, or an unpaid volunteer position. If that option isn't open, you can talk to people in that line of work and find out how it is for them. Some experimentation and change, when available, is normal. Turnover doesn't mean you failed. It means you've gained valuable experience and information about what does and doesn't suit you that can be helpful as you select and perform your next job. People are also finding ways to avoid defining themselves totally in terms of organizational job roles. Through producing useful items or services and exchanging them with others, directly and through barter networks in which services and goods are traded with no money changing hands, people are creating alternative economies that offer another kind of perspective on meaningful work. Traditional ideas about appropriate jobs for men and women can interfere with a full consideration of the possibilities open to us. The United States has gone far toward breaking down such stereotypes and opening up a wider range of options. but not nearly so far as, for example, Israel or the Soviet Union. As we have yet to elect even a woman vice president, though such nations as England and India have women heads of state. Increasingly, women work outside the home at some time in their lives. Part of the notorious difference between men's and women's average incomes is due to discrimination in promotion and pay levels, but another part is due to lower average training levels. Despite higher average grades, fewer women students than men complete their college degrees, and fewer go on to graduate training. Nonetheless, today, women and men alike are moving into non-traditional jobs with little or no stigma attached. Such issues are even more pronounced among minority groups. How we are in what we do. No occupation is the freeway to happiness. If I'm obsessed with thoughts about how I'd be happy if only I'd gone to some other line of work, I'm probably not doing what I could to make my present work rewarding. Resenting our work or pushing too hard can lead to the kinds of stress reactions described in Chapter 15. In the workaholic pattern, a person becomes so immersed in work that he or she finds no time to relax and take it easy. Oddly enough, a workaholic may find little or no satisfaction in the work itself, but only in looking forward to the goal. A true workaholic may feel uneasy about taking time off, even during vacations. Working too intensely for too long, without taking time to relax and replenish our energies, can lead to burnout, in which we're not much good either to ourselves or to others. This condition often plagues women who hold down an outside job and also try to do a full-time job as wife and mother. The price of peace of mind and health of body may be leaving the house a little messier than she'd like and involving her family in doing for themselves. This may involve explicit negotiations with her husband or children. In the course of our work, many of us redefine the nature of our own and others' jobs. The latter is especially true of people in managerial positions. Shoemaker speaks of ensuring that every job is worthy of a human being. The model of management or administration that he advocates is like someone holding a cluster of helium-filled balloons by their strings. Each balloon is buoyed up by its own initiative and creativity, and the manager or administrator holds them together and provides guidance. In addition, Shoemaker asserts, a firm is responsible not only to its shareholders, but also to its employees, its customers, and the community as a whole. When we adopt that attitude, we acknowledge the workplace as part of the larger social and ecological fabric to which we all belong. The perspectives of Gestalt and Zen can help us consider how we are in what we do. From a Gestalt viewpoint, we can ask, to what degree am I a whole person as I do my job here? Which parts of my being do I affirm, and which do I deny? How can I make room for the parts of me that I now leave out and become more fully who I am in what I do? We can ask those same questions about what we allow and expect of others under our authority. Zen counsels a directness and simplicity, doing things with care and presence of mind, not leaving undone what should be done, and not doing what's unnecessary. Above all, it counsels using each task, each moment, as a focus of awareness and a vehicle for personal evolution. Human community. Community is a place and it's an attitude of respect for the human and natural world in which I live. When I look around me, respect means remembering my sense of wonder. When I create, respect means making something that is beautiful and that will fit into its surroundings in a pleasing way. With other people, respect means asking, how can we nurture one another? It means finding ways to make sure each of us has enough to eat, a warm place to sleep, decent health care, and a worthwhile job to do. It means using our community as a caring agency and recognizing the impact of the values of the larger social fabric in our immediate and personal communities. We can see this on one hand in a barn raising that contributes to a spirit of mutual assistance, and on the other in attitudes that condone and transmit violence in interpersonal relationships. Folk singer Rick Maston writes, "Haven't we all stood helplessly in hospital halls? Haven't we all been to the grave together? There are streets of people who seem to have it made, but we've all been down in the kitchen lonely and afraid." In recognizing what we have in common, we don't lose the individuality of you and me. As I see my own heart reflected in your eyes, we can have both the unity we share and the wonder of the uniqueness of each one of us. The ecological community. We exist not only within the human community, but also within the larger ecological community that makes human life possible. As living beings, we live by the grace of other living beings. A Navajo who was enrolled in the university decided to drop out and go back to living with his people. "Why?" asked my biologist friend Don Isaac. "You're doing so well here." The Navajo drew 2 circles. In each one, he drew a collection of symbols around the inside of the rim: corn, clouds, rain, animal figures, and so on. In the left-hand circle, he put a human figure in the middle. In the right-hand circle, he placed the human figure among the other figures around the inside of the rim, the same size as all the rest. He pointed to the circle on the left and said, "This is the white man's world." He pointed to the circle on the right and said, "This is the Indian's world. I cannot live in the white man's world any longer." We need to regain our sense of proportion, our awareness that we are just one strand of the interwoven fabric of life on our earth. This is the great lesson that the American Indian peoples offer us. Even in the midst of the concrete and asphalt of a city, I can find a park here and there where I can touch the earth. Or at least I could put my hand against a wall and feel the texture of a brick fashioned from red clay. One afternoon, I stood on a high cliff above the sea. A group of seagulls caught the currents of the wind nearby and rode them back and forth, calling out to each other and answering in obvious delight. That reminded me of a winter day years before when I came upon a group of ducks in a field. As I watched them, the clouds parted, and for about 2 minutes the sky broke into beautiful colors of crimson and gold. One duck looked up, saw it, and started quacking. Then all the rest stopped what they were doing and looked up too, directly at the spot where the light came through the clouds, and started quacking joyfully. When the clouds closed, the opening in the sky turned gray again. They turned back to their other activities. Those ducks appreciated the beauty of that moment, just as I did, and the seagulls appreciated the joy of their play, just as I appreciate the joy of mine. Naturalist Lauren Isley says, "I find many versions of myself with fur and grimaces, surveying my activities from behind leaves and thickets." Isley likens humans to the latest bloom on a great tree that stretches backward into the dim recesses of eternity. Each creature is a leaf or a branch on that tree, and the tree is the great stream of life itself. We have no choice now but to understand the interdependence of all living beings. Our Earth Mother cannot endure our brutality and arrogance forever. Even the timeless seas, which have become our cesspools of last resort, are gravely ill. Captain Jacques Cousteau, who has spent a lifetime studying the oceanic depths, speaks with alarm of the pollution in the remotest oceans. If we are to survive and prosper, the ethics of ecology must be recognized. This will cost us something. Cousteau estimates that saving our environment will take an investment of about 6% per year of our gross national product, appreciably less than the cost of the credit it takes to keep our economy going. We can afford that. To pass the earth along to our descendants in a condition no worse than that in which we received it is probably the most important gift we can give them. The world is a sacred vessel, which must not be tampered with or grabbed after, wrote Lao Tzu. In that spirit, we can learn to live with our earth rather than against it. End of chapter 28. End of the book Being and Caring, A Psychology for Living by Victor Daniels and Laurence J. Horowitz, copyright 1984, as read by The Happy President.